Hello and welcome back to another Sky Sports Fantasy Football Game Week preview. As you can see, we are finally in the brand new setup. You would know this if you did watch the UCL Fantasy video from yesterday, but obviously not everyone plays the UCL Fantasy game, so if you are just a Sky Sports Fantasy watcher, then this will be new to you. So we have finally got a brand new setup going, a new PC, a new monitor, and basically everything is brand new. So we've got a new background as well, which isn't the tidiest, isn't the best, but it works for now, and I'm just happy to have everything here sorted and ready to go. So very excited for next season, which is going to be very good, and of course the Euros as well over the summer, where I'm planning to do a lot more content. So that should hopefully keep the summer busy. Otherwise I'd have no videos to put out. This is actually, I think, the second last Sky Sports Game Week preview of the season, so I'm quite happy that I've been able to do everything, or been able to kind of keep it consistent at least for the entire year. So this will be the penultimate one. Next week will be the last one of the season. So let's hope that they're going to be good ones. So we are starting, of course, this week for a change with the average remaining transfers. Obviously we didn't have them last week. Sky have released them now. And obviously the changes are going to be a lot bigger because we haven't had them in 2 weeks. So top 10 is down to 1.5. Again, this is probably going to be a lot less now because this weekend's games have just been, and a lot of people did bring in transfers. So the top 100 is down to 2, the top 1,000 at 2.2, and the top 5,000 is averaging 3 right now. So I'd imagine that's probably down to about 2. I think the majority of people aren't going to have more than 1 or 2 transfers left, especially because most teams only have 2 games to go. So 2 transfers, 3 transfers are kind of the majority of what's going on here. Anything more than that, I would definitely be trying to use as many as possible. There is 3 single game days this week, and we're going to take a look at the captains very soon. So for our popular moves this week, Erling Haaland is the one at the top of the list after being the second highest transferred out last week. Obviously, if you did not captain him on Saturday, it's just a very big disappointment. Obviously scoring 4 goals and getting 25 points, and obviously with only 2 games to go, it's going to be very hard to pull that back. So if you did captain him, great, I suppose. I think there was a good few people that didn't go for him and did go against him. If you didn't captain them, then you're probably not really too happy with your ranking right now, because I think it would have been a big decrease. Ben White's in there in second. I'm actually quite surprised about this. I don't really see why people have brought Arsenal players in, because they have less games than a lot of others, and of course they've got that Man United game away from home as well to consider at the weekend. Isak is the third highest transfer in, obviously doing very well right now. Cole Palmer still being transferred in by people, clearly not owned by everyone in the game. And then Jean-Philippe Mateta seems to have been the popular transfer in, the popular captain for the Palace and United game, for those who didn't have someone. Obviously Bruno Fernandes was out injured, and I would imagine a lot of people either just captain someone like Onana if they had Onana in their team, or went to a Palace player instead. I'll look onto who I ended up bringing in later in the video, but Mateta seems to have been the popular pick there. Transfers out, Van Dijk is the top one. Again, a bit expensive. Liverpool don't have a lot of games left, so that one makes sense. Fabian Schär obviously injured. Solanke not in the best form right now, and I think he's probably, like in my case, I had all my strikers and midfielders I wanted to keep to the end of the season, and Solanke was the only one that could really make way. So I'd imagine a lot of people are probably in the same boat. Nunez totally out of form, and then Van Heck as well. Obviously picking up an injury, which looks to have put him out for the season, but I don't think I've heard any confirmational news on that one. So starting off with our captaincies then, I do apologise for the blurry fixtures. I think we can just make them out, but the rest of them are going to be fine. This one seems like it's going to be a decent day to go for someone differential. There's a lot of good captaincies out there that you could go for. We've obviously got Haaland against Fulham. You could go for maybe Mateta against Wolves. Could be a decent option if you if you brought him in for that Palace game. Son against Burnley looks like a decent one. Isak against Brighton at home could be a pretty good one. Solanke, if you still have him, against Brentford, and then obviously Cole Palmer against Nottingham Forest could be a pretty decent one as well. I've narrowed it down to these two, and that's Haaland and Son. These two are the highest in terms of goal scoring percentage. And I think it's two players that pretty much everyone owns as well. So I think I've narrowed it down to these two, and I thought I'd have a look and see which one's the best. So we'll start off with the goal, the chances conceded from both of the teams. Fulham, you can see most of their chances coming from through the middle at 135. Burnley are quite similar, kind of just chances from everywhere from them. Obviously, you can see down the bottom with the expected goals conceded, Fulham are 8th, Burnley are 4th. So on paper, with Son having also the home fixture as well, Son could maybe be the better option. But I think the fact that Haaland is just off of 4 goals against Wolves, and he is just a bit higher in terms of the chances of scoring at 64%, I probably would just have to go with Haaland on this one. I think most people are going to be in the same boat, even though there is so many different captaincy options on this day. I think most people are just going to go with Haaland anyway. As the early kick-off as well, which could be something to consider, but I think it's an easy Haaland captaincy again here. On Sunday, it is Man United versus Arsenal, our first single game day of the week, and I've narrowed it down to Saka and Bruno Fernandes as well. No confirmation on whether Bruno Fernandes is going to be fit for this game, but if you are going to have a Man United captain, this is probably who it's going to be. Another one that you could maybe consider here is maybe just going for Saliba. I think it's one of these ones where a lot of people probably don't have either of these two with Bruno or Saka, so I think for this day I'd probably just be captaining whoever you've got. I think everyone should have at least one Arsenal player in their team, and whether that's going to be Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, White, whoever you've got in there, probably would just stick that captaincy on them. Arsenal have a 38% chance of keeping a clean sheet, so you're talking almost double the chance of an Arsenal clean sheet than Bruno Fernandes does of scoring. I think on paper Saka does look like the best option here. Maybe someone like Havertz could be quite good as well if you have him and he plays striker. You can see with the chances conceded, it's 179 down the middle for Man United, which is one of the highest in the league. So if Havertz is starting striker, I'd be very tempted to captain him. If you don't, I think I would literally just be captaining whoever you've really got in your team here. If you must bring someone in, I think Saka would be the pick. 45% chance of scoring, and it has been pretty decent as of recent. 16 points and 11 points in his last 2 games. And I think he could be a pretty decent one. I think if I had to bring someone in, it would be an Arsenal attacker, whether that is Saka or Havertz if you prefer him for the chances conceded. I'd be looking there. But I think for me personally, I'm not going to make a transfer. I've only got one left, as you can see in the bottom right, and I do have Saliba and Raya in that team, so it's going to be one of those for captaincy for me. On Monday's day, it is Aston Villa versus Liverpool, and I think this is going to be a game where a lot of people do bring someone in, because I think the majority of teams don't have a Villa or Liverpool player right now. Obviously, I'd imagine there's still going to be some on Van Dijk, but I do see Aston Villa scoring in this game with the home fixture and Liverpool just not being fantastic in general. So I do prefer one of the attackers, which is why I think most people will be using transfers to bring someone in here. So we're comparing Watkins and we're comparing Salah. Salah, obviously someone who hasn't really been in good form of late. Obviously has been benched a couple times, but did come up with a 17-pointer at the weekend there, which has turned a lot of heads, mine included. I'm now tempted to bring him back in with my last transfer. But you can see Salah is just kind of edging Watkins in every department. Goal scoring odds, he has beaten him by 12%, and you can see with the chances conceded as well. Villa are conceding basically chances from everywhere. There's no real differential there, but the most chances are coming from the right wing. Liverpool aren't really conceding as much, just a little bit less than Aston Villa are as well. So I think Salah does trump Watkins in this game in terms of the stats, if you wanted to go for a stats-based captain. So if I had to pick someone, it would be Salah in this game. Tuesday is our final single game day of the season. It is Man City and Spurs playing against each other, and once again I think it is just a Haaland captaincy quite easily here. You can see alone by the goal scoring odds, Haaland is double the chance of scoring than Son does. So once again I think it is just an easy Haaland captaincy. You can see with the amount of goals that Spurs have been conceding lately, that Haaland could easily do really well here. Obviously, the only deciding factor could be the fact that Spurs are the team at home, and Spurs seem to be Man City's bogey fixture over the last couple of seasons. But either way, I don't really see any world in which you would want to captain Son over Haaland here. And finally, on Wednesday, we have two games to look at. It's Brighton v Chelsea and Man United versus Newcastle. Again, probably would have been a pretty decent day for someone like Bruno Fernandes as captain if he wasn't injured, and I'd imagine a lot more people would have him if he was in the lineup against Palace as the captain. But we are going to be looking at Palmer and Newcastle, Palmer and Isak, two players with away fixtures in there. And I think I'm more leaning towards Isak here. We're back at the chances conceded down the middle from United, still 179 as it was with the previous one when it was Arsenal and United, which is exactly where Isak's going to be able to thrive. I'm not too sure about the news here, but I have heard that Callum Wilson might be injured again. Again, I'd take that with a very small pinch of salt because I'm not sure how reliable the source is on that one, but it's one to research further and look into. But if he is, then Isak's obviously guaranteed to play and probably very likely to play 90 minutes as well. Obviously at the weekend there, both of them played beside each other. I believe it was a 4-4-2 with both of them up front, which is good news for Isak's minutes. But I think I'd easily be going for him. I think Brighton's defence is not too bad. Obviously you can see 15th in the expected goals conceded in there, and you can see by the chances conceded in the top right, it's really not that much. Whether Palmer plays through the middle or on the right, it's just nowhere near compared to the chances that Man United are conceding. So for me, I'd be going for Isak here. I think it's pretty straightforward. And next week, as we look at our final fixture gains coming into the end of the season, we do only have really 6 game days to go, with 3 of them being singles. Obviously, everyone only really has 2 fixtures to go, so there's really not too much to look at. Obviously, after Saturday, the only team with 3 fixtures is going to be Man United. So if you've got maybe 3-4 transfers in the bag, I probably would be loading up on there. Obviously, if Bruno is going to be announced fit, I'd be wanting him. Maybe someone like Onana, I think, would be a pretty decent one. But if you're a Raya owner, it doesn't really make sense to go for that transfer. It's a tough one with United because I just don't really want any of those players, but they do have the extra fixtures just in case you do want to go that way. On Monday, you can obviously go for Liverpool players or Villa players. Obviously, from that, most teams are only going to have 1 game left, so if you want a single, taking someone out with 1 game, you can go for a Liverpool or Villa captain and still get 2 games out of them. So for me, my final transfer is going to be Solanke coming out, and it's going to be in for Salah here, so I'll get the Villa captain and I'll get Wolves at home, and I'm avoiding this one game against Chelsea for Solanke. So the reason I do want Salah so much is because I think this game against Wolves at home he could do really well in. Obviously City have just pummeled Wolves, and this is going to be like, Liverpool aren't going to have anything to play for in this game. It's literally just going to be Klopp's last game. The fact it's at Anfield as well means Liverpool are probably going to be right up for this game. And the atmosphere is probably going to be absolutely fantastic, so I could see Liverpool even getting 3-4 goals in there, and obviously Salah really has a really good chance of getting in the middle of it all, so I do really want Salah for that final match, and obviously get him for the captaincy against Villa here as well. Any other moves, I suppose, on Wednesday, you could go for anyone here and get another 2 for 1. Anyone with difficult fixtures. I think the main one I like if you've got transfers left is if you brought Branthwaite in. You're really he's not going to get any points at all in this last game. So if you've got the transfers available, moving on Branthwaite here could be a really good move to maybe a cheaper United defender. Again, even a captaincy somewhere would be quite good as well. Chelsea and Brighton Brighton not so much, but maybe someone like Dunk, you could be looking at about 10 points from him. I think it just is a bit better than going for Branthwaite in a game against Arsenal away from home, where he's not going to get passes, he's not really going to get tackles, and could end up on minus points as well. So if you've got transfers, that's probably one of the main moves I'll be looking at. Teams with difficult fixtures, Brentford no one's really got. I do like the idea of getting rid of Solanke, but Chelsea have been on pretty decent form recently. Defensively, been not too bad, and obviously Solanke's form hasn't been great either, so even getting rid of Solanke, it could be a pretty decent one. And if you're saving transfers for the final day, would maybe look here at Spurs, going for someone like Richarlison, Son, any of their attackers up against Sheffield. Could be a pretty decent move as well. Then obviously I think City with the West Ham fixture, they could take a few off them as well if you don't have someone like Foden saving a transfer there. So again, not really too much to look at in terms of fixture gains. It's really just holding out. If you've got one or two transfers, just making sure you've got the best captains, and you should be good to go. And then finally, rounding off the video, we've got my team and how we are looking. So if you've been paying attention to the bottom right hand corner, I've finally made it into the top 1,000. I did, well, to be honest, it is all thanks down to this transfer I made for the Palace and United game. I was looking at the chances conceded. Again, obviously United had lots of chances down the middle, but also chances conceded down the right hand side. And my decision was for this, I've obviously got two transfers left, as you can see. So the moves were a captaincy for Palace and United, and then a captaincy for Villa and Liverpool. So I was really between Mateta and Trent, or Salah and Munoz, because obviously I had to get Van Heck out and I wasn't able to get another defender. So one of my captains had to be a defender, and I wasn't really feeling a defender captain for Liverpool and Villa, because I think both teams will score in that game. So the fact that Bruno was out, and Palace obviously are pretty decent defensively, I think the smart option was to go for the Palace defender. Anderson and really the centre backs haven't been getting passes as much as they have in previous seasons, so I was between Mitchell and Munoz, and because of the chances conceded, I ended up going for Munoz, and originally ended up with 26 points. Then they added tackles tier 1 for him, and then like an hour later added tackles tier 2 as well, so I ended up with 32 points from him, which was brilliant. Only 2% owned in the top 1,000, 2 assists and a clean sheet, which was fantastic. Literally could not have asked for more from him. So great news for me. Pushed me up a big amount. I think it was like 300-400 places. So that is me now finally into the top 1,000 with 2 weeks to go, and one transfer to make, which is going to be Solanke onto Salah, to cover that Monday captaincy. So quite happy with the way things have been. Obviously 164 points this week, like 300 odd for the week in terms of like total points, which was great. 50 from Haaland, 20 from Palmer, and 32 from Munoz. So you're talking 100 points just from 3 players, which was very, very nice. And obviously the rest of my players returned as well, other than Solanke, who didn't. Also going for the Munoz and Salah meant I could keep Solanke for an extra game, even though he hasn't been brilliant. I still think he could do something against Brentford at home, which is not too bad, so I don't mind keeping him for that. So team's looking good, happy enough with that. One transfer to go, and that's going to be Salah. Second team, again, just throwing stuff about at this. 4K, I went for Højlund as my captain just for the sake of it. Wasn't really too interested in that. Havertz, again, I've got him for this United captain. We'll see how he gets on in there. Obviously had De Bruyne for a good while as well. Still get Van Heck in this team. 2 transfers to make again. Just been having fun for like the last 2 months in this team, just throwing about random players. So again, not really too bothered about that. But this is where the main stuff is happening, as it always has been. And very, very happy with my Monday captaincy. So again, captains are going to be who I had just mentioned earlier in the video. Final transfer is going to be Solanke to Salah. So Let me know down in the comments how many transfers you've got left, what you're going to do with your remaining transfers, and if you've got any dilemmas, then I'll be more than happy to answer them. But that is going to be the end of this video. We do have one more game week preview left, so make sure to tune in next week as well. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.